This clip is brought to you by SaveWithConrad.com.
Well, very quickly, we're going to see him get the old-fashioned push, the almighty push. Magnum wins the North American heavyweight title from Mr. Wrestling number 2 on May 13th, 1984, which is really Magnum's first major title. Do you remember this event?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, well, that was we did a big program. We had Magnum, and Cowboy came to me one time and he says, I'm going to put Magnum and 2, talking about wrestling 2 together, and as a team, and give him a run with the Midnight Express, probably a title run or something. And he said, then we're going to break them up, and I'm going to make Magnum a heel. I said, I think that's backwards. He said, what do you mean? I said, well, first of all, Wrestling 2, who I had great respect for, but he was a lot like Red Ass JR sometimes, except he was red ass most of the time. I said, he don't even want to sign autographs or take pictures of the fans. He's not a babyface, Bill. He don't want to be a babyface. He's 50-something years old. So you think Magnus? Magnus a guy. So Cowboy booked this angle that Midnight versus Magnum and two, and the losers got had to suffer 5 lashes with a leather strap from the winners, including Cornette. But if the baby faces won, then Cornette got the lashes as well. Obviously, that's not what went down. The heels cheated, they won, and they had to take their lashes with that leather strap, bare-backed. And Wrestling 2 walked out on Magnum. And the referee was kind of verklempt, didn't know what to do. And so Magnum stepped up and said, I'll take all their lashes. Now, that was great. That's a John Wayne move and a half, I promise. That's great booking. Except the guy that's booking it wasn't taking the lashes. And the fact that we were doing that same angle in every town. And they're losing in every town. They're getting lashes in every town. So about the third day, Magnus looked like he'd been, accosted in a dark street. His back was hideous. His danger of getting infected, staph infections, all that stuff. So they finally did a little angle where they had Terry Taylor come to Magnum's rescue and volunteer to take lashes alongside of him, which made Taylor a more of a baby face. And of course, Magnum, we just put his toughness over. And yes, when he came on television, we took great close-ups of his back. It was sickening. And we made some more heels. We made heels out of the more stronger heels with the Midnight. So that little angle right there really, and it made Wrestling 2 a villain. And he loved being a villain. And it made Magnum this courageous babyface that had bigger balls than the law should allow.
Mr. Wrestling 2, obviously a big, well-respected name in the wrestling business. The reason for the transition here, we're just trying to put over the bright, young, upstart babyface, or is Mr. Wrestling 2 going to venture off into the sunset and try a new territory? Or what do you remember for the reaction that Mr. Walker had to this changing creative?
Well, Johnny was getting older. He lived in Atlanta. He had bought a lot of property in Hawaii, and here he is working the Oklahoma Mid-South territory. I think he was ready to start winding it down a little bit and start getting booked closer to where he lived and eliminate some of his travel. Because like I said, somebody will Google it and they'll have the right answer so they can go online and correct my ass. I don't care. I just want you to know I don't care. Correct me if you want. I just think Johnny was about ready to go, and Bill had kind of gotten all the juice out of that fruit he was going to get. So I think it was kind of a mutual thing, and but I don't know that leaving was a well thought out plan. There's generally some sort of cash and creative issue there. So, but I just think it was time for him to go, and he'd served his usefulness. He'd made some money, and off he went.
Tell me a little bit about how Magnum felt about winning a belt like this. Not only is it a big belt in Mid-South, it's literally a huge belt. I guess we should talk about that. The North American heavyweight title, Bill Watts, I guess, secondary belt, is a gargantuan monstrosity of a championship belt, right?
Yeah. Don't you own that?
I do not, but I know who does.
Oh, they're in danger. Get them, Connie. Close.
I'm on it. I'm on it.
The boys used to kid that Watts got that belt so big because it would cover up his belly. I never heard him tell him that to his face, but I've heard that chit chat in the old shower area. That was a very distinctive belt, and I think that was other reasons. Seriously, that Bill wanted to be. He wanted to be bigger than the other titles, figuratively and literally. And so it was up to the territory and the right champion and the right matches to make it that way, literally or figuratively. But literally, there you see it. You know, it looked like a hubcap for a goddamn 18-wheeler. It was huge.
Gigantic.
Gigantic, Conrad.
Is he is Magnum excited about having his first major championship?
Like a kid in a toy store. It wasn't I said this in the Bret Hart documentary. I think I did. I know I said it somewhere along the way that the greats never looked at their titles as a prop.
Yeah.
And I don't think Magnum ever really looked at championships as a prop, even though we all knew what they represent and all those things. But I think he was like a kid. You know, that was a big deal, man. You're a fan all your life, Conrad. You're a fan all your life, and you finally get into a territory. You're on the main TV show. You're a star of that show, and now you're the champion of the territory. That's a pretty damn good little deal for a kid that got featured out here to Oklahoma as a favor to Dusty to get him ready for Dusty and to Dusty's booking. Because everybody had already, there was mumblings always there about how far this kid can go. And every booker, no matter what generation or whomever it may be, always looking for the next big thing. And if they're not, they're going to go out of business. You have to continue to look for the next big thing. And a lot of people thought that Terry Allen was the next big thing early on.
So how's he acclimating to Mid-South? I mean, obviously he likes the push he's getting, but he's running with a new batch of characters, and I'm sure not everybody's tickled that he has leapfrogged some of those guys along the way, and he's making towns up and down the road, left and right. That's going to wear anybody down. How's he acclimating to Mid-South, do you think?
The main thing is that he has to acclimate to the travel, and I think he did a pretty good job of that. But you know, fatigue set in oftentimes, and more often than not, instead of having a systematic way of giving talents days off, giving them a notice, you know, most wrestling offices would ride you just as far as you could be ridden until you raise your hand, and so sometimes the talents will go to Bill and say, "I need, you know, some of the smaller clubs, he might take them off those, so they could rest." But travel is always going to be the enemy in that territory. It always was, and always. If it was operating today in the same pretense, where it's all car trips, it'd be the same thing. So the travel is always going to be his biggest enemy, and getting some time off to let his body rest. Those simple things mean an awful lot to a talent.
Magnum holds this new championship for 5 months before dropping it to your old great close personal friend, Mr. Ernie Ladd, on October 16th. Ladd would defeat him in a title rematch the next month. And it feels like this might be Magnum easing out of the territory. What do you remember about this match with Ernie and Ernie coming out victorious?
Well, Ernie was Bill's guy and my guy too, for that matter. And Ernie was the booker. Everything ran through Cowboy. He vetted everything, but they did that either daily on the phone, and then they did it when we'd meet on Tuesdays. You know, I got to sit in all those booking meetings with Ernie Ladd, Bill Watts, in Shreveport, writing the next 2 nights of television. And then I would, that was on Tuesday nights. We did that because during the day on Tuesday, we do the interviews and talk about the interviews and who's doing good, who's got a good promo, blah, blah, blah. How can we make this better? What have you? So I got to spend a lot of time with Ernie. Ernie is a safety net. First of all, people still believed in Ernie, especially down in that part of the woods. And he had great respect from the fan base. He'd been around forever. He was Ernie the Big Cat Lad, whose feet covers the ground he walks on. I'd rather fight a man, and what do you say? Well, I'd rather fight a man than kiss a baby. You crazy bastard. But so that was our day on Tuesday. Here's our day on Tuesday, Conrad. Interviews from about 10 until about 2, maybe 3. Food. Booking meeting. Cowboy gets sleepy. Ernie wants to play dominoes. So we go to my room. I always had a room on the lower floor, same room. And we would open the patio door so we could smoke. And brother, did we smoke. And so me and Ernie would play dominoes sometimes till the middle of the, seriously, 3 or 4 in the morning. And it was very competitive, to say the very least. But I knew when to do my job so I could finally get Ernie's ass to bed, because he wasn't going to leave on a downward note. So somebody had to do the honors, Conrad. I manned up. I did it. I threw the domino game just to get a little bit more sleep. So, but it was what a fun time to be around. And Magnum helped make it that way because he helped make business better. But Ernie was a safety net because Ernie could work babyface in some towns, but more naturally as a heel in most towns. So there's a lot of ways to book Ernie until Cowboy made this decision who was going to be Ernie's successor.
It's been said over the years.
Hey, Big Daddy, you got to get excited about saving people money. Woo! Woo!
SaveWithConrad.com.
Hey, it's Conrad Thompson. Thanks for checking out the podcast here on YouTube. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and the notifications bell so you get a notice anytime we upload some new content. And go save yourself some money right now. If you're in a 30-year loan or you have credit card debt, it's not a matter of if I can save you money. It's a matter of how much. Find out right now for free at SaveWithConrad.com.